everybody, I'm Beebs Kelly. Thank you for joining me for another video. Today I wanted to take a look back at some of your top comments. Nikki says, honestly, I think if they had dropped the titles when they moved and claimed they wanted privacy and to be financially independent, they possibly could have done way better. I don't think we royalists would ever forgive or forget their treatment of Queen Elizabeth II and Prince Philip, nor any other royals. But they would have had a following if they had separated from the royals altogether. I think that's true. The fact that they use their titles and still play like they are within the royal family with their official and formal statements, it's just completely off-putting. It's just an absolute non-starter. Nobody is interested in that sort of nonsense. And furthermore, it makes Harry and Meghan just look foolish, desperate. It's kind of pathetic at this point. So they really do, I agree, need to back away from those things. Margaret says, I think there was always trouble in that relationship. Harry toed the line when he married her, but as time has gone on, he sees her pushing him further into the background and promoting herself as the royal. He's fed up with it, and the last straw is about to drop on his back, and he will break. I think that's a very interesting perspective, because a lot of people have spoken about how Harry wanted to leave the royal family before Meghan came along. At the same time, especially early in their relationship, it came across body language wise and just the way Harry spoke about things and he seemed so much more confident and excited for the future, like in his interview, their engagement interview, which I'll link for you, the playlist that has that if you want to go back and watch it if you haven't seen it yet. Harry seemed very much like he enjoyed leading Meghan in this role. Like he had done it, he was experienced as a working royal, and I think he wanted to guide her, and that was sort of a position he hadn't previously been in. He had always been led by his father and then his brother and Catherine. You know, he just kind of followed their lead for a long time. He was under their office and whatnot when he met Meghan. I definitely think that Harry enjoyed the idea that he would be leading her. And ever since she started being more discontent and pushing her way forward and whatnot, I think that he, as you said, was trying to just be tolerant of it and be like, okay, well, I'm not going to like make a stink about who enters the room first because Meghan doesn't get it or whatever. Or he was just being polite, perhaps. It's now to a point where it seems like Meghan is completely dominating absolutely everything. She rushes in front of him at every opportunity. She's always the one shaking people's hands first. She is always the one stepping in front, even at events that are for him or about him, like Invictus events, which makes no sense. Even just out of normalness, it should be more 50-50. We should see Harry taking the lead at least half the time, at least, if not more, because this was more his arena and where he operated within when he was with the royals. So he is more familiar with this type of work than Meghan is, who was an actress. So it still just doesn't make sense, but even just 50-50 would make more sense than what we see, which is almost always Meghan first, Meghan out front, Meghan controlling the events, Meghan bossing everybody around on where they're allowed to stand on polo stages. You know, it's just ridiculous. And it would make sense. Eventually, Harry would lose his patience with that. Any man would. Anyone would. Woman or man. Anybody would get tired of that eventually. Silver Mouse says, Netflix is dropping all 8 episodes at once, giving a dump and run vibe. Yes. Now they do that often. Netflix is kind of known for that. They are the binging platform. But yeah, they obviously don't have too much faith in Meghan being able to retain her audience throughout the entire 8-episode series. Obviously. Or else they would be promoting it completely different. Carolyn says, if they didn't hold hands when they were working, in my opinion, they would have got more public favor because Meghan Markle looked like a child who can't go out with her parent. It's true. It also came across strange because it was in direct contrast with this strong independent woman vibe that she kept trying to push and kept trying to say and drive home, that she didn't hunt down Harry, that she didn't know anything about him. She was so into her own things. She did so much humanitarian stuff and none of it was suspicious. Right. In direct contrast with the way she behaved, constantly being super clingy. As a lot of people suspect, it's gotta have some sort of other motivation, to not be left behind like it's out of insecurity, or to not be cropped out of the pictures because she just wants to be there and in the center of attention, or it is just a way to sort of create that bubble and that exclusivity of like, we're doing our own thing, and you're doing your own thing. I found it especially offensive to be clinging on to one another during walkabouts when people have lined up to see Harry and Meghan back in the past. Nobody's lining up to see them now. But in years past, when they were working royals, people lined up to see them just to be able to shake their hand or have a picture or say hello. And they were so clingy with one another, it was just plain disrespectful to those people. So no wonder people immediately got turned off of Meghan and Harry. Lioness says, past behavior aside, this is 2 examples of why people dislike them. She used the passing of her beloved pet for publicity. This pet died in October. Okay, so I'm not 100% sure when Guy, her dog, passed away. I feel like part of me thinks it makes a little bit of sense to announce on Instagram that he passed before the show aired so that people would know once the show was live, like, yeah, Guy has sadly passed since the show was filmed. However, in her statement, she should have included when this happened, because leaving out the date to which he passed left it open to speculation that it happened long ago. And if it did happen long ago, she could have kept it a little bit more simple. Also, I agree with all of you who thought her choice of pictures honoring Guy were really, really odd. A lot of them were just Guy's butt, the back of Guy because he was walking away from the camera, and Meghan was the center of the picture. So not a great option for a tribute. But secondly, she and Harry put out the official statement regarding the awful fires from their website as if they were representing a country. From their elevated position, they informed everyone to be kind to neighbors, open their doors, to think of others, and give to a charity. How about they just donate? They do not need to tell people anything. Jamie Lee Curtis lost her house and donated $1 million to emergency services. Honestly, no words for these numpties. Harry's a dweeb. Yes, he is. And although Jamie Lee Curtis, I think she did not lose her house, but she thought she was going to because the Palisades fire was like right up near it. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. I completely agree. And I have a couple videos that came out recently going deeper into those very subjects and the problems with their statements. But yes, those are perfect examples of why people don't like them, among many. Sarah Hardy says, you control how you present something, but not how it is received. In addition, Meg's presentation is naff. It's fake. She doesn't take the time to organize. I mean, for crying out loud, she is in a kitchen and she just can't keep her hands out of her hair. It's unhygienic. Yes, it is. And it's true. Meghan and Harry seem to be under the impression that how things are received is their choice. Instead of focusing on presenting things in a way that would be smart and garner them less criticism, they make stupid choices and care too much about how people perceive them. It's really the wrong way to go about things, and it must be incredibly taxing to constantly be worried about and obsessed over how everybody receives everything instead of just being genuine. Maybe they can't be. Maybe they have a hard time doing that. Dark Knight Queen asked, are royal families allowed to take normal flights? Are they allowed to take British Airline and sit in first class or business class? Because I was a bit confused when you said that Harry was talking about traveling less, but then constantly traveling everywhere on private jets. Yes. So, for example, the Prince and Princess of Wales frequently use just regular commercial flights. Probably sit in first class, I would imagine, even just for the leg room because they're both tall. But yes, they are. They are allowed. And Harry and Meghan gravitate towards private jets everywhere, all the time. They almost never use a normal commercial flight, but the real royals do. Robin says, allegedly Meghan Markle is having a tantrum that the preview clip for her Netflix show was all wrong. She wanted the PR team fired and the show pushed back to February. We'll see who wins. Allegedly, she only wanted herself featured, but Netflix insisted Harry be included, and Netflix won that round. I hadn't heard much news about this, but maybe I wasn't paying close enough attention. But it would make sense that Meghan would be irritated with the preview that was released because it got criticized. Had it not been criticized, she would have been happy with the preview. The problem is that Meghan never takes responsibility for what she does and her mistakes and her projects. Everything is always someone else's idea. The Bench was someone else's idea, told her to publish her poem. That didn't happen. Nobody believes that. Every single thing. Netflix, the documentary with Harry and Meghan, was a friend's idea. Nobody believes that. It's all Harry and Meghan who actually want to do these things, but they blame other people because it gets criticized, so that if nothing else, they can sleep at night thinking that it was someone else's fault rather than just taking responsibility. But the problem is that the public has seen this pattern with every single project they've done. Harry blames Spare and Netflix and Oprah on his security being pulled, so he needed to make money. You know, all of it is nonsense and ridiculous. JPR455 says, I'm confused by the format. 8 half-hour shows is only 4 hours of airtime. In fact, it's less because each of those half hours will have 1 or 2 minutes of opening and closing titles and credits. So it's only going to be like 26 minutes of content each time. Maybe they think the punters will only be able to stomach 26 minutes of Meghan at a time. Very possible. But also, I think a lot of Meghan's approach to these things is just incredibly boring. Like the Netflix series that they did together, every single thing was so incredibly boring and mundane. Harry and Meghan do not have good sense of humor. They're not witty and fun to watch. They're not charismatic. I've never seen an interview with them where it was like engaging and interesting and you really wanted to hear what they had to say next, or where you really liked them. And so I would imagine there was a lot left on the cutting room floor of just nobody is going to sit through this. It's too boring, even for the editors to get through probably. But additionally, because it looks like she doesn't do much in the way of actual cooking and baking, there's not much content there. Slapping together the ladybird appetizer is going to take like 10 minutes maximum. Lyndham says, I too cannot work out who is Meghan's desired audience. In the trailer, even though everyone is invited, there's no direct address to the viewers, no attempt to include us. So what are we there for? To admire Meghan Markle and marvel at her lifestyle seems to be the answer, and what is entertaining about that? The viewer is left feeling like the poor kid staring through the window of the sweet shop with no hope of entering. This is a chronic problem with Harry and Meghan. They do not know their audience, and they never have. When we were with the royal family, I had a video about this very thing, that Meghan misunderstood who her audience was. Harry just was completely unaware that there was an audience, I think. But Meghan, when entering the royal family and introducing herself to the public, I think completely miscalculated. The audience is very much extremely off-put by Meghan Markle's approach to things, and very much likes and is drawn to and responds well to, for example, the way Catherine, Princess of Wales, and Prince of Wales, William, operate, and the things that they offer the public and the way they present themselves to the public is received so very well. And when you look at how Meghan approached her entrance into the royal family, it was obviously very self-obsessed and egotistical and very focused on her, but also just completely didn't grasp who the audience was. Same thing goes here. The potential audience for her show would be women and homemakers and people who are interested in homemaking type of things. That means they will want some degree of value, tips and tricks, things that are interesting, things that are stimulating and pleasurable to look at, and would rely on the charisma of the host, the way Ina Garten has masterfully achieved, for example. And that also means not just the wealthy people who will frolic in their gardens as a huge portion of the content. It doesn't work. Fact Check commented on a fashion edition that she recently saw an interview with Zendaya's stylist, La Roche, who said when she first started working red carpets, he called many fashion houses and designers, but none of them would dress her. Too young, not pretty enough, wasn't going to last. Well, he said he politely accepted each refusal, but he kept a list. And now that Zendaya is such a gorgeous woman, combined with being an outstanding actress, he gets many phone calls from those fashion houses and designers wanting her to wear one of their creations. He looks at the list he made of all the early refusals he got and ever so politely says no to the people on it. I say bravo to him. I agree. I really like him, and I really like and respect his relationship with Zendaya. They are a team, and that's exactly what you need, especially in an industry like that, where things can get very toxic very quickly. Egos can get out of control very quickly and easily. You don't want a bunch of yes men. You want somebody who you have a real relationship with, who you trust their judgment, they trust your judgment, and you have each other's backs. And that feels like what Zendaya and La have together, and I love it. And it's very successful. As you can see, Zendaya has some of the best looks on the red carpet. There are always complete looks too, which I really respect La Roche for as a stylist. He makes sure the hair, makeup, jewelry, and the fashion all goes together to create a cohesive and complete look. He is very talented, and he has a great person to work with. But the fact that they have such a good relationship allows it to always work. Because if he was trying to put Zendaya in something that was a beautiful creation, but she wasn't comfortable in and she wore it anyway because she felt like she had to or something, then she wouldn't be able to pose like this and have this presence that's like, wow, this look comes together. Part of that is the wearer feeling beautiful and comfortable in it. And so they just have a great dynamic, very talented people, the both of them. And a lot of respect for how he approached that, because it's not cool when that type of stuff happens. And I think there's nothing wrong with keeping track of who wouldn't help you out on the way up. I think that that's totally fine and makes sense. Thank you so much for joining me. I hope you have a happy day ahead, and I will see you next time. Bye.